Hello, welcome to our 2 o'clock session today. We are talking about platforms and partnering with platforms. Please excuse me, I'm a little bit unwell, so I'm going to need to refer to my notes. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing. So today we're going to be talking about how fintechs can partner with platforms and what platforms offer to fintechs, and also how organisations like fintechs will decide which platforms are the right platforms to engage with. That is us. Yeah. I'm pleased to have Oriana Tassari here with me today. She is the Partnerships Manager for Stripe Australia New Zealand, and I'm Danielle Smith, and I basically have the same title but for Xero. So we regularly engage with fintechs in our roles. Fintechs, entrepreneurs, banks, all kinds of different potential partners that want to partner with us. So in our roles, we have come to know what partnership success looks like, and conversely what it doesn't look like. And really the tip and the trick to all of it is it's about the customer. So that's possibly not surprising to anyone. Are there any partnerships people here? No? Nobody's in partnerships realm? Okay, thank you. 2 people. All right, very good. 3. Welcome. And anybody who's interested in partnering with a platform? Ooh, okay. Hello. We might have some work to do later. Very good. Okay, so last year at Intersekt, my colleagues and Oriana talked about financial services products at Xero. This year, we're talking about fintechs particularly because fintechs are often small businesses. And what we've found, and therefore probably our customers, but also it's been difficult for small businesses over the last year. So we want to give an opportunity for fintechs to hear from us how we can work together. All right, so let me just explain a little bit about Xero first. So for those of you who potentially use Xero, got any customers out there? Ah, great. Come on, is that all? Yeah, that's right, confess. Hello, happy to have you, and lovely to see you. So customers of Xero will already know that we provide accounting services for small businesses. But more than that, we also provide a whole bunch of apps and tools and other services that plug into our platform to provide some extra services that we don't do ourselves. And that has always been how Xero operated. Having started 17 years ago, we opened our APIs basically straight away in 2009, and we've always encouraged partners to build to us. And we knew that being a valuable service provider was always going to require partnering. So since we opened the API in 2009, we have partnered a lot. And our partnerships are predominantly activated by mutually beneficial API integrations. So I think that's really important to note, that we, as a big holder of data and a big holder of records, generally enables partnerships that use those records or use that data to enhance an experience for a customer and provide a service. So having done that for many years, we've got about 300 connections to financial institutions. Every time we do these kinds of talks, we say 300, doesn't seem to change, but they do merge. So it's not that we're not doing more, they're merging together. So these financial services connections help our customers to understand their financial position. That is the foundational data that we get to do the reconciliation, which creates the accounts and allows us to do things such as cash flow forecasting. And for our partners in financial services, we do 3 things mainly. We provide data to lenders to do credit analysis and for small business customers. We offer payment services where we use the bills that have been ingested into our platform, so the bills that customers must pay. We don't facilitate those payments, we use partners to make the payments, and similarly on invoices that are issued off platform, we attach payment services through partners to collect the money from the invoices. And that's how we know Stripe. Stripe is one of our major partners for that. So outside financial services, we have 1,000 connected apps in our ecosystem, and they do everything for small businesses. We understand small businesses have 50, 60, 70 jobs to be done every week. So these apps do inventory, logistics, they do point of sale, they do in project management, they do a whole host of things, time and attendance. So the Xero App Store is how we facilitate access to these apps, and it enables these businesses to have a full set, big toolkit, works all together. Anyway, so that's the Xero platform experience, and I'll ask Oriana to explain the Stripe platform experience.
Thanks, Danielle. So Stripe is a financial infrastructure platform for businesses of all sizes. We have millions of customers in almost 50 countries that use our software tools to accept payments, make payouts, beat fraud, and manage their business online. So our mission is to grow the GDP of the internet. And in Australia, a little over 19% of retail trade currently happens online. So there's plenty of runway for us to seek out that mission. Stripe has been in Australia for 9 years now, and it's actually one of our fastest growing markets. We have around 500,000 businesses in Australia building on our platform. And one of our most important jobs here is really to help those Australian and New Zealand businesses to be competitive and grow both domestically and internationally. And to that end, we have a few focus areas at the moment, which is really around continued product expansion and delivering revenue optimization for our client base. Now, partnerships, the topic of today, has and will continue to play an integral role in meeting those objectives. And today, Stripe partners with a bunch of different types of organisations, so banks, fintechs, schemes and other platforms to power and to complement our respective offerings. And it's great to be here today to talk to you about Stripe's philosophy on partnerships and also our processes and maybe some opportunities as well.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the things that might be worth just taking a moment is about the definition of partnership. So you can see there's a lot of more of the use of the term partnering or partnerships than there used to be, and some of the partners or the partnerships type activities are really kind of sales activities. So how do you at Stripe define partnerships?
Yeah, we actually use the term really broadly at Stripe as well. So we can use it to describe our relationships with customers. We also use it to describe our partnerships that drive sales, so partnerships with system integrators and other technology companies. And in the context of my role, we're using it to describe partners that really enable Stripe products. We have about 200 of these partnerships across APAC today, if we're talking about those that really drive sales and enable products. And they all really centre on driving non-linear growth for our user base. So if I give you some examples of how we'd use partnerships in that context, we have a partnership with Apple that enabled us to deliver a tap to pay on iPhone, and that in turn enables our clients to launch a new and unified commerce models. We have partnerships with, say, Amazon Redshift and Snowflake to help our clients access insights faster through Stripe Data Pipeline. And maybe the more relevant example for today, or the more accessible example for this audience, would be Stripe Apps, so our Stripe App Marketplace. And this is where anyone can create an app for their own purposes or to release to our and expose it to our millions of clients online. And an example of an app currently on our marketplace would be, say, a marketing app which allows a Stripe user to connect their marketing campaign with their sales outcomes, and then also right there in their Stripe dashboard, and then also send automated targeted messages whenever a purchase is made.
Yeah, okay, so that brings us to another point that we haven't really defined, which is about a platform. So again, a platform like Stripe or a platform like Xero is trying to be or striving to be a piece of technology where the customer can do a whole host of different things. So let me just find our partnerships for a little minute. It's just slightly different to that. At Xero, we do have a kind of annoying thing where we use the term partner to mean accountants and bookkeepers or our ecosystem partners. So once you get your head around that, we can talk about ecosystem partners, of whom there are, as I say, around 1,000. So I focus on banks and stored value facilities and ecosystem partners, but we also work with systems integrators, who I think there are a few here. But the key for us is in partnering is that there is a shared customer. In fact, I should also define an ecosystem. Again, it's third-party apps, financial connections, and custom integrations. But in terms of the customer element being the key thing, it's always going to be two organisations that have a relationship with the customer. So we don't partner with systems integrators. We partner with the organisation that they work for to serve a customer. So what that means is that we have such a tight relationship with the customer that we seek to engage with those other entities that they use, and we both have the responsibility to give them a good experience. Most of our integrations, again, are enabled through our open APIs. Some are supported in the App Store, but not all. And we also, and doing more of these, doing referral partnerships. So Xero has always had really close relationships with accountants and bookkeepers. Accountants and bookkeepers tend to suggest to their customers at tax time or some other time of record keeping that they should use a Xero or another accounting platform. So we've always had those tight relationships. But there are other moments for a customer when they should be looking at an accounting platform that doesn't come with all of the hectic activity of tax time. So we do have some referral partners where they have a relationship with the customer, let's say a prospective customer for us, earlier in the journey. Okay, but the important thing to note is most of our partnerships are based on our open APIs and some data sharing.
Okay, with Stripe's app marketplace, that's also open. But in most of the other cases, we have a really structured approach at Stripe in terms of partnering. So we really anchor on principles to assess and select our partners, and we also measure and manage our partners against a framework. So not entirely open like Xero App Store.
Yeah, so ours is a little bit different. So, but we are evolving. So one of the interesting things, I suppose, about us is both of our organisations are quite young. Even us, 17 years, but we do have 1,000 apps. So it can be confusing for customers to know which app to use. So one of the things that we need, and because we are very open, we've always promoted a community and an ecosystem. We've always had open platforms. Basically, we would partner with anybody that wanted to provide a service and could do the technical build. Now, because we've got 1,000 apps in the App Store and actually 20,000 other connections behind the scenes, we need to be sure that the customer will be able to determine the value of the partnership that we have. And so we actually need to evolve how we work with our App Store. So this is something that we're doing right now, is to better understand who's in the App Store, and therefore, so we are able to suggest to customers which apps suit them, or indeed an app stack suits them depending on the type of business. It might help anybody in the audience or fintechs to know what we look for when we meet a new prospective partner. So can you share that for Stripe?
Yeah, sure. So definitely as Stripe has evolved, our partnership discipline has become progressively more sophisticated. I'll give you a sense today of some of those principles that I mentioned that we anchor on. But when I meet a prospective partner, it's usually because I am sourcing partners for a prioritised product work stream, or they have proactively reached out to me. And in both of those cases, Stripe's operating principles are actually a great place to start because they describe the way that we work, and we do look for cultural alignment. Beyond that, if I give you a payment method example, so if we were looking to, say, partner with a payment method, some of the principles that we anchor on are standardization. So that's really about making sure that our clients have consistent features across all of our Stripe products. There's ubiquity. So that because we have a global client base, that is about ensuring that they can reach regional markets. Reliability is a big one at Stripe. So that is really about making sure that the service is highly available and performant. And the final one is frictionless. So this really speaks to some of the onboarding processes, making sure that the user experience that is ultimately enabled is really smooth. We also, when we're thinking about getting into a new partnership, we're thinking about the likelihood of success against our partnership health pillars. And some of those include things like strategic alignment, so the potential for longevity in the relationship, roadmap execution, whether initiatives can be delivered on time and to spec, and operational excellence. So what do those response times look like? Again, what does that availability look like? I think when organisations proactively reach out to me, top of mind is there a path forward? Is there a potential partnership here? And I think partnerships, like any investment, requires a business case that really makes sense. And in the current resource-constrained environment where product prioritisation is really ruthless, Stripe is increasingly looking at alternative partnership models. And I'll give you an example of one of those alternatives that we're starting to look more at the moment, again in a payment method context. It's about leveraging common integration standards and patterns. So we are looking to ultimately roll out a financial partnership interface, which will enable potential payment method partners to self-serve and ultimately add themselves to the Stripe product suite. So the type of partner that would be suitable for that type of partnership model would be someone motivated and technical, so really willing and able to create a new service and maintain it, willing to rely on Stripe to onboard the customer, so a master merchant model, and again, really reliable and performant, so adhering to really strict SLAs around fraud rates and availability and conversion. But I think with Stripe, our processes and approach to assessing and selecting partners is quite structured. But I know with Xero, you're a very open marketplace, so I guess you probably take a different approach.
Yeah, it's quite different. So because we've always been open and we've always been willing and desired a strong community and a big ecosystem, if you want to build to us and you've got the technical capacity, you can do that. We would always give you an engineer who would help and would certify the app, but basically then it's live and off you go. Of course, you mentioned business cases. It's a really good idea for a prospective partner to have a really good think about the business case that they have and how they will stand out of the crowd. Because there's a lot of apps at Xero, and we certainly see some that are very successful and have lots and lots of customers, and some that are not. So one of the things I'd like to talk about just a little bit is a survey that we recently did of our ecosystem partners to see what they like about working with Xero, what it meant for them to work at Xero, and any issues that they had. So, as I say, the collaborative and innovative community is really important. The reason that I'm sick today is because we had too much partnering fun at the Xero conference last week, where we communityed a little too hard. So let me just go back to we surveyed 403 members of our ecosystem just last year. They have been on our App Store for a whole range of periods of time, but we had a real, I guess, peak around 2-3 years ago. I guess in COVID, we raised the number quite substantially. And it's easy for an app to be attracted to us because we have a lot of customers. We have 3.7 million customers around the world, 1.5 million in Australia. So straight up in a business case sense, it looks very appealing to build to us. But yet you still have to be able to stand out amongst all of those others. So let me just tell you a little bit about who's in the community as it is now, and we've seen changes. So one of the interesting things is that with a shift in software development and no-code tools, which Stripe is good at, that help anyone, you don't need to have a lot of technical expertise to actually build to us anymore. And in fact, what we found is about 1/3 of developers, only about 1/3 of our developers have a software engineering degree. 1 in 5 are self-taught. So self-taught may also mean that they have required a bit of hand-holding from us. What's also interesting to note and highly relevant to anyone thinking about building to us is that 1 in 10 of our survey respondents, and probably around the same in the ecosystem in general, are actually former or practicing accountants. So as an accounting platform, these people are so able to understand the customer. They can see a gap on our platform, or they know something that is new that needs to change, and they build an app. Often they've built that app just to run their own practice, and then they've had the entrepreneurial sense to create an app that is saleable. So in fact, that's a big part of our ecosystem, and those people that really, really understand both our platform and also the customer do tend to do quite well. Other industries that are popular are construction and building, which also represents just the nature of small businesses and how many businesses operate in that field. Manufacturing, banking and financial services, retail, logistics. So
yeah, I think that's it's quite a range, right? And I think that breadth of solutions that is available really speaks to how many businesses and solutions that an organisation deals with on a daily basis and is really inundated with. But often those individual solutions don't necessarily work well together. And I think that's really where the value of a platform partnership comes into play, and that's certainly the point of friction that the Stripe app marketplace looks to address. Because if you can get those solutions working together, if you can get the data in the context that the user prefers and is familiar with, then the workflow and user experience is so much better for it.
Okay, so a little bit more about our ecosystem and what they think about and what's important to them in their work. Again, pretty relevant for people who are considering building apps to us or partnering with us. So what's important to them, over half of them are interested and concerned about data privacy and security. I think I'm surprised it's only half. In the shared fight against growing internet fraud, and Stripe's all over that, more businesses are focused on that than there used to be. And they're also super concerned about protecting customer data. So it's absolutely fundamental come to work type business. But interestingly, and also relevant for what makes a good app, is 1/3 of them are interested in climate change and sustainability. We've seen a burgeoning number of apps in that area, but again, only in the last few years. So the rise of the carbon measurement apps is also super important because we didn't have any, and now we have a few. So an entrepreneur those entrepreneurs that saw that gap and created those apps have been quite well supported by us in terms of marketing and events and promotion, because they were new, they were innovative, and they're interesting. They closed a gap that we didn't close, and that's the beauty of the ecosystem. They tend to do things that are quickly. They do things more quickly. So just to round out what the social issues that people are interested in are, it's data privacy and security, open source, of course, and open APIs are important. Health and well-being, which is another really interesting one, particularly since COVID. We're seeing a real rise in those types of apps and those types of considerations, and climate change. And then the challenges are what one would expect: macroeconomic type challenges, But nevertheless, many in the ecosystem has told us that they've found opportunities to grow their business, to improve their products and gain more customers.
Yeah, that really resonates, Danielle. I think in terms of fraud prevention is definitely an inherent part of Stripe's business. Earlier this year, we launched the Enhanced Issuer Network, which is where we share risk scores from Radar, which is our internal fraud tooling, with issuers and schemes so that they can make better decisions around authorizations and declines for card payments. And early indications show an 8% reduction in fraud and a corresponding 1 to 2% increase in auth rates. And I think that's a really great example of where we've been able to work with partners and the ecosystem to deliver a revenue optimization for opportunity for our clients. And then in terms of the growth opportunities that you mentioned, Stripe recently released a digital trade report. And there's some interesting findings in there where we're seeing real optimism from businesses and consumers. So I think get these stats right, over 60% of Aussie businesses are planning to expand to new markets over the next 2 years. And then 58% say it's easier to have a business where they're operating and selling goods and services in multiple markets than it was 5 years ago. We also recently surveyed 2,500 Stripe users, and 250 were located in Australia. And we asked them what the impacts to their strategies and tactics were off the back of macroeconomic trends like reglobalization and take-up of online commerce and payment system evolution. And what they said was that 73% said near-term revenue and cost optimization is much more important now than it has been over the last year or so. And over a third are looking to create new business lines that are digitally enabled. So I think that really speaks to the global ambitions of the Stripe client base, and also their laser focus on revenue and cost optimization. So if you're an app creator and you want to release something on, say, the Stripe app marketplace, you really want to be, focusing on enabling those areas to really optimize your investment.
Yeah, that's very interesting. The numbers that Oriana is quoting are very similar to the achievements that our ecosystem partners have actually made. So what we found is that more than half of them have actually increased their customer base since they've been in the ecosystem, and the same number, over half, have been improving their product. Says something. It's testament to the types of entrepreneurial people that work with you, that work with us, that are optimistic and are still growing and improving even in these difficult times. Similarly, over a third of our partners grew their teams, made new products, and expanded their reach to other platforms. Yeah, like yourself and other ecosystems. Of course, they're also thinking about artificial intelligence, as everybody is, and are looking to trial or integrate artificial intelligence or machine learning into their app development. We also asked our partners what they love about working with us, and the number one thing is indeed the ability to access and acquire new customers. They're also interested in receiving better marketing and brand exposure, and also we have verified user reviews on the platform, so that helps too, because customers love to see what other customers say. But I have some areas for improvement. One of them is API functionality. So we don't API everything. We have APIs for quite a lot of our data, but not everything. And so we're constantly trying to think about what other data we have may be of use to other people to serve our customers. People want more marketing and lead generation support, but it's getting a bit crowded with 1,000 apps, and they want more developer technical support. And I guess that makes sense when you consider that a lot of them are self-taught. So look, we continue to invest and focus heavily on the partner experience, and so any feedback we get from partners is very valuable. So look, that's our survey. So it kind of accords with your data, but that demonstrates what they want more of as well.
Yeah, I think The Stripe app marketplace is much earlier in its journey than the Xero App Store. We just launched last year, and currently we have around 100 third-party apps and hundreds more that app creators have released for their own internal purposes. But I think, just to give you a bit more information about Stripe apps, it basically lets you embed custom user experiences within the Stripe dashboard. So the Stripe app can do anything that a client can do with the Stripe API. It can listen for webhooks, read and write data, and it can programmatically take action. And then Stripe will also be providing a toolkit of common components like graphs and charts, etc., to keep that UI consistency. I think Xero is on there, and that's a great example of where two platforms have worked together to really enhance the outcome for mutual customers, where the payments and accounting experience is improved because the user can get Xero data within the Stripe dashboard if that's the user interface that they're already in. Much like you mentioned, Danielle, there's a breadth of different types of apps on our marketplace as well. So marketing and sales, clients, climate, data and analytics, and also financial services.
Yeah, we've both got a lot going on, that's for sure. So just a quick moment to reflect as we're kind of running out of time. For Xero, we do have over 1,000 apps in the ecosystem, to 20,000 custom connections. We have partners behind every single one of those apps that wants to work with us to access more customers and to bring their products to the customer base in Australia and around the world. And our partnering philosophy, which I really didn't talk about that much before, is that anything that we're doing with an app partner needs to be good for the customer first, the partner second, and then us last. So, and in that order on all occasions. So reflecting on the accountants and reflecting on the carbon apps, those partners that really understand customer need and serve a unique purpose are going to resonate better with customers, and therefore they're going to accrue the most support from us. So while choice is very important for customers, the 12th generic invoice payment app won't appeal to customers as whatever the new thing is, as the carbon apps were in the last couple of years, and that's what we will probably be supporting. So if you do want to work with us, please consider what the customers are going to be needing, what gaps there are, what the customer strategies are, and what do we already offer, and what gap can you plug. Final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. I think partnerships are a really powerful enabler of product and distribution and user experience. And at Stripe, we're continuing to look for new ways to work with partners, but what will remain consistent is that we do have a really high bar, and in any of the partnerships that we move forward with, they're always going to be focused on providing differentiated infrastructure and products for our clients. And also, we do have a focus on helping our customers expand both domestically and internationally.
Okay, so lastly for me, and in closing, I really enjoy working at Xero. Xero is a wonderful place and has a wonderful product that really helps customers manage their businesses. One of the ways that we best do that is through the ecosystem, and through there we can offer new, unique and innovative solutions. We understand that our core product will not now, and nor will it ever, be able to solve all needs, so partnering is absolutely critical to us. And so we have an open platform. So anybody who does want to consider building an app for Xero, please do so. Please experiment and innovate. Talk to our other partners and come and talk to us. Please also note that while we don't have, you can always build to us. We will help you, guide you, help you understand how successful you're going to be and what access you'll be able to have to customers. I thank Oriana for joining me today and hearing about the Stripe approach. I learned quite a lot. It's interesting we work together so much as platforms, but we do things in different ways. So I've learned a great deal. Look, I'll be around for the remainder of today, probably tomorrow. So please come and say hello. Oriana, are you up for a chat too?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be at the Stripe coffee cart if you need me.
Very good. You can go and try and guess the weight. All right, thank you.